Have Newcastle United just announced the sale of Sandro, Tonali, Anthony Gordon, Dino Livramento, maybe even Lewis Hall? They might have to announce these sales because they have been flagged by UEFA. They have broken financial fair play rules under the UEFA guidelines. They have tried to sell the leasehold on St James's Park to a sister company within their PIF group. They have tried to sell St James's Park to themselves to turn a profit. They have just announced their annual figures, which say Newcastle have turned a profit, but they are not allowed to use that, and they are going to be flagged, and they have cooked themselves, according to so many reports. I'm seeing Newcastle fans losing their shit online at the moment. They lose Isak, and they still fall short of financial fair play rules and guidelines. They try to cover this by announcing a profit in their annual figures because of the sale of St James's Park. This is not allowed to happen. Martin Ziegler has reported on this and has stated that they are now in huge trouble and in a big risk of breaking and breaching FFP and UEFA's rules and regulations alongside that. It's incredible. They've tried to pull off a Chelsea. They've tried to sell something of their own to themselves to try and get around financial fair play. How desperate are the richest club in the world? How desperate can you be? In this situation now, it pretty much puts them in a no hope position of trying to keep hold of any of their big players, surely. And this may be something that the other Premier League clubs that are looking at these big players at Newcastle were already in, or well, already knew about, because it seems strange how everybody just went in, bang, we're getting Tonali, bang, let's see what Bruno Guimaraes is worth, and let's see what Newcastle would want to sell him for. Yes, Newcastle are going to come out, like David Hopkinson has just said in their annual figures, in praising Newcastle for turning a profit. Well, we know that that isn't really fair now in what they've put in their books, but he said that they're going to buy well and they're going to sell well. Well, they're going to have to really sell at massive profits to try and turn this around, because it doesn't look like they can spend any money at all this summer. They need to sell before they buy. And this on top of it, I think makes matters even worse. We've heard from Craig Hope of the Daily Mail, North East correspondent up there at Newcastle, about Manchester United formally approaching Newcastle at the end of the season for Sandro Tonali. We know about Bruno Guimaraes. But now we're hearing from the same journalist again, before this news broke about the financial fair play breach, that Newcastle have to sell because they're not in a position that most people think that they are. People think that Newcastle are financially sound and will be able to go back out into the window again and spend. Their turnover, their revenues are nowhere near as good as the likes of Manchester United, Arsenal, City, Liverpool. They're at least halfway behind what their revenues are. The commercial profits and the boost in them that Newcastle have announced today pretty much come down to selling the stadium. It's crazy how this has happened and how someone like Newcastle and their organisation there have allowed this to actually happen. Surely they knew the rules, but this has just led to everyone now, what by the looks of it, piling in and going for the Newcastle players, going for the Tonalis, the Anthony Gordons, Tino Livramentos and Lewis Halls, maybe even Bruno Guimaraes at this point, because Newcastle look screwed. They look absolutely screwed. All that for 133 million. Did they really think that they were going to be able to get away with this? With the focus on financial fair play at the moment, what's just happened with Chelsea? What's going on at Manchester City now? And then you get this Saudi ownership, PIF, coming in and trying this, because they clearly are frustrated that they can't flex their financial muscle and turn Newcastle into the powerhouse that they want them to be. Instead, they've turned them into a laughingstock and an embarrassment right now for trying to cheat and con the system, and it has been pulled. And now we're about to find out how harsh UEFA are going to come down on Newcastle. This is going to bring into light the situation with Chelsea again, and obviously Manchester City with their sanctions and what they have got. I don't know if there's a European ban coming here for Newcastle. If this is the case, then you can expect the exodus to start in earnest, really, because there's no way that any player who knows of any situation like this at this club is going to want to stick around now. Newcastle have backed themselves into a corner by keeping Eddie Howe. and backing him. And they've come out again today. The CEO of Newcastle came out again today and said there's no immediate plan to get rid of Eddie Howe. But he didn't really back him that much in saying you're going to get a new deal or anything like that, or he's secure going into the future. Eddie Howe's already hit his ceiling with this squad. There is no money to spend anyway, and now they're going to get sanctioned by UEFA. This could be the start of the end of Newcastle. After their most successful season in history, they are now looking like the worst season the season after. What a come down for Newcastle. But when you break down the benefit to everybody else, and not wanting to laugh at anyone while they're down, but you get what you deserve. If you want to break the rules, then you should be punished. Then everybody else looking in now is looking at this and going, go in there and let's rinse Newcastle for everything that they've got. They have to sell. And I don't really, I mean, is there anything within the players' contracts that actually stipulate that if something like this happens and sanctions come in and they are getting a European ban or whatever? Look, none of these sanctions have come through yet. This is just being reported and they're in risk of breach. And look, it is against the rules and we'll find out what happens soon enough. This is what's being reported now. Can you imagine a player sat there at Newcastle trying to get 100 million for him and stopping that move when they can't offer that player anything in terms of European football and challenging at the top level because they've broke rules? I'm sure there are clauses in contracts for situations like this that come around and actually make the situation possible for a player to leave if it gets that far down the line. These are the things that will start to come into play here for Newcastle. This is such a massive story. It really is, because of the focus on financial fair play at the moment. Players wanting to leave Newcastle, the situation with Eddie Howe. With all of this going on, still the garbage. They're out of every domestic cup, they're out of Europe, and the 12th in the Premier League. It's been an absolute disaster of a season for Newcastle United. And not one player I could see in that squad of any decent quality is going to want to be hanging around there after this has been dropped. And if it does come out that they are sanctioned and punished, and like we said, they haven't been punished yet, but this is just a massive embarrassment for Newcastle United and their ownership. What are they thinking? I don't see any player wanting to stick around with this as the ownership, and this is the way that this football club is going to want to go forward in the future. You can laugh at Man United all you want and the debts and everything like that, but one thing United haven't done is broken financial fair play rules to this level. We have been done before, and I'm not going to hide away from that from UEFA. It was a small fine because we came up a little bit short and went into debt by a little bit too much, but we haven't done anything like these big clubs have. All of the clubs that have been brought up under charges recently, the likes of Chelsea, the likes of Manchester City, and now Newcastle, this is embarrassing. This is embarrassing for the Premier League. Yet again, another Premier League club with UEFA sanctions coming their way. With the amount of money within the Premier League, how have Newcastle got to this point? Do we care right now as Man United fans, City fans, Arsenal, Liverpool, looking in at the potential signings that you could make? This, again, just goes to show pouring another football club can get you in big, big trouble. And I don't see how Newcastle bounce back from this unless they get away with it. And even then, they still can't spend money, according to Craig Hope. They've got to sell. Whichever way you look at it, there is either a wholesale at Newcastle or there's a fire sale, a car boot sale, any kind of sale that you want to bring up. It's happening at St James's Park this summer. Everyone pile in, take what you can. I feel sorry for the fans. I feel sorry for Newcastle fans. This is embarrassing for them. They thought they'd turned the corner and it has gone completely backwards. Let me know what your thoughts are. Get into the comment section. Make sure you give this video a like. Make sure you hit that subscribe button here on Adam FC for all of your latest Premier League news. This is massive. Thanks for watching, everybody. See you in the next video.